As an American who's living in Sweden, working here, and been here for 3 years, I've come across a lot of words and expressions that sound a little funny, a little awkward to use sometimes, and even sometimes sounds like some bad words in English. And I want to talk about those top 10 words that come to my mind. A lot of times they're off just a little bit. They're not exactly the same as something in English, but they're close enough to where that's the first thing that pops in my brain. And the first word that comes to my mind when I first came to Sweden that was really awkward for me was the word Puss. So in English, you can hear people use this word in many different contexts. Back in the day, I heard a lot of old people using this for when it had to do with a cat. In a different version. And then there was also the stuff that comes out of your wounds, so the yellowish, nasty fluid that comes out. So in Swedish, it means kiss. And I heard a lot of my friends' wives and girlfriends using this word, especially to other girls. So it's like saying goodbye or like kisses in English, which we don't really do that in where I come from in Texas. But yeah, and to make it an extra level of strangeness, sometimes they double it to sound extra nice. So they'll say poos poos. And the ultimate level that I have heard in Swedish that was really strange for me was when my friend's wife said, poos hey. So it's like kiss and then hey, which means hello. But sometimes when they say goodbye, they say hey also. So it sounds really bad in English. I never use this expression. I see it mostly between women. I'm sure guys probably sometimes use it. I don't know. You can comment on that in the comment section. Second one that was really weird for me coming here was the word shit, which means meat. Now, it's not to be confused with another word, which is spelled S-H-I-T, but the word sounds close enough in my brain to be the swear word in English. And so it was really awkward for me to use at first, especially when you hear people say it fast, such as in the word for the famous Swedish meatballs, köttbullar. It did not sound very appetizing to me. So in the beginning, I preferred not to even say it. So it was a little awkward for me. Now I don't have a problem with it. But this word is used a whole lot. In fact, in very strange ways. So the word for gums, like the gums around your teeth, is tandkött, which is literally teeth meat, which sounds horrible to me as an English speaker. Third word that was really weird for me was the word fuck or fuck it. It was close enough to another word in English. Now, this word has a couple different meanings. One of them can mean like a union, but the way that I hear it used most on a daily basis, all day long, is like what we would call in English a cubby hole. So, for example, if you have those little plastic things that you can put your papers in, those are fuck. And so it sounds even worse because if you want to say the cubby hole, you say fuck it. And so they'll say, hey, can you look in the cubby hole, or kan du kolla på facket? So that was a little bit awkward for me to say also, but I've gotten used to that one. Another one that's kind of weird, and it doesn't sound like anything so much bad in English, like a swear word or anything, but you kind of have to know a little bit of Swedish to understand this one. So it is the word for dammsugare, which is vacuum cleaner. It literally is dust sucker. And the funny thing about this word is there's also a thing in Sweden that is like a sweet dessert that you can buy in the store, and they're literally called dammsugare, which is vacuum cleaners. And in my brain, when I saw it on the packaging, I wasn't really sure how to pronounce it in the beginning. And so I thought it said, like, it looked like damn sugar. And I thought, yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about that. Another one is the word for hello. So, hey. Now, this may not seem like such a weird thing, but where I come from in Texas, they're a bit more formal. And so you can say hey, which literally it's like a shortened form of hello. Hello is more formal. Hey is less formal. Now, the way I was raised, especially the older generation, you don't say hey to people you don't know. You don't say hey to older people, especially if you're a child. It can be perceived as very disrespectful. And I've heard of older generations literally as kids, when they were kids, getting slapped for saying hey. And so that was like deeply ingrained in me, that you don't say hey to someone you don't know, to a stranger, to an older person, to a person in a position. It's just too informal. It's kind of like saying yo, uh, so yeah, that's how I was raised. Coming from Texas, you have to remember that it may be different in different parts of the United States or in other English-speaking countries. So coming to Sweden, it was extremely weird for me to say hey, and it took me probably a whole year to get used to that. Now, the problem is I get so used to speaking Swedish. I don't have any family here, so I speak mostly Swedish every day. And so when I go back to America, I find myself in the habit, because it's so close to saying hey in English, which would be hi, rather than hello, that I'll be saying hey to people, and people will look at me really weird. And so it takes me several days to kind of get back in the groove of just saying hello or some other sort of greeting. Now, another level of this, a lot of Swedish do this, they'll double a word to make it sound nicer. Just like I said with Puss, you can say puss puss for kisses kisses. You can do that also with the word hey. So you'll hear a lot of people say hey hey. And I hear it more with women, but I've heard it with guys too as well. And it just sounds, coming from Texas, which tends to be the stereotypical, how shall I say, I may offend some people. I apologize if I do that. I don't know any other way to explain it, but I feel like when we speak English, it's a little bit more masculine in Texas with that kind of cowboy culture. And so for a guy to say, hey, hey, sounds a little bit effeminate. And so I still don't do that. I usually use other things. I don't have a problem with it. It just doesn't come out naturally for me. So that was another really weird one. Another word is kock, which does not mean what it means in English. It actually means a chef. So that's another weird one for me as well. Here's a funny one, fart. So for example, this actually doesn't mean what you think it means in English. It usually has to do with motion or speed. And so, for example, it's using the word farthinder, which is a speed bump, which is another funny word. It sounds like in English you're hindering a fart, like you're holding it in or something. Another combination is infart and utfart, which are respectively entrance and exit. Another one is prick. So prick means like a point or a dot, and you hear a lot of people say that in Swedish when they're telling time. So for example, if they say 9 o'clock, they may say prick 9, or on the dot at 9. Gift is a fun word. So gift, it's not pronounced gift like it looks, but gift means poisonous, and it can also mean marriage, or I should say poison and marriage. And last but not least, I saved the best for last. No pun intended, slut. This is not pronounced like what you think it is. It's slut, and it literally means end, or the final part of something. And you'll see this a whole lot, for example, at the end of a movie, or you'll see it when you're in the train and you're reaching your final destination. You'll see the words slutdestination. So it's not what you think it is in English. It just means final destination. So those are 10 words and expressions that I have felt were funny, awkward, or sounded strange to my brain as an American who speaks English coming here. Is there anything that sounded weird to you when you were learning Swedish, or maybe in another language? Leave that in the comments. Have an awesome day.